Welcome to the Health Reflections podcast, a podcast dedicated to exploring the world of anti-cancer living and empowering you to take control of your health. I'm Finola, your host and guide on this transformative journey towards a vibrant and resilient life. Join me for solo episodes and conversations with wonderful guests. I am beyond excited that you're here, so let's dive in. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Health Reflections podcast. Today I want to talk about something that I find really important, and if you have been following me for a while, you have heard this before. I tend to mention this quite a lot, so I thought it was about time to dedicate a little space in the podcast to talk about this. So what I want to talk about today is routines and why they can impact our overall well-being. So what is a routine? Because some people, when they hear the word routine, I feel like they get stressed in the sense of they feel like they're wasting precious time of their life by living the exact same thing every day. Depending on the life that you're living, I think that can happen, that you fall into a routine that really doesn't bring you any value, or you get sick of every single day doing the things. But if this happens, it's probably linked with the fact that the things that you have to do every day, or that routine that you're seeing as negative, is because really doesn't bring you joy. It really doesn't make you happy. I understand that there are situations in life where that is your current life and there's very little that you can do about it. For instance, you don't have money, you have a job that you don't like, but you just need to keep on going because it's what's giving you the ability to feed yourself or your family. So I completely understand this. However, I would try my very best to try to change things. If changing job is not a possibility, then maybe find what other things I can put in my day that can kind of create a routine that I like, or that brings me calm and joy of some kind. And the way that I see routines is more of a process, a sequence of habits, sequence of activities and practices that gets me ready for something. And not only this routine helps me get closer to the habits that I want to work on, the goals that I have, and so on, but also makes the thing that I'm prepping for look easier or more enjoyable. So I have a morning routine which preps me for the day. I have a night routine, which is basically a way of telling my body that it's enough for today and it's time to wind down and we're going to get ready to sleep. I have a routine for when I'm ill. I have a routine for when I have to study, mainly when I have to prep for big meetings that get me full of stress and anxiety and I cannot manage to focus. So I have a routine that preps me for that, that puts me in the right mindset so that I can work efficiently and be productive and reduce distractions as much as possible. So that is the way that I see routines, as a way of preparation for a bigger action, for a bigger project. So now that I have defined, or I think I managed to define what a routine is, I want to talk about a little of the science behind. In this podcast, we reflect about these things. We look into the science behind things that we do in life and things that we find out that are healthy. We try to understand the why, the science behind it. And I really want to talk about the science behind why routines are so helpful. They can impact our health in a positive way and also help us prep for the bigger action in the case that you're doing it the same way that I am. So the first thing that I want to talk about is structure. Having a routine can provide with the sense of structure and predictability. It is going to allow to manage your time effectively by breaking up your day into manageable chunks of activity. By creating a routine, you create a systematic approach to completion. And this can help you be more efficient in your personal or in your professional life. Creating these routines in your daily life will help you with your productivity as they reduce the time that you spend in decision making. When you have a routine, when you have planned ahead, you can just follow what you have to do, leaving you with more energy to the task that you have to do rather than deciding all the time what to do next. Now, the science behind this. Our brain is wired to seek and maintain patterns and routines because they require less cognitive effort. And this leaves the brain more power for other tasks. The reason for this is because when you create a routine, it is always generally with the same activities. So when you practice this routine on a regular basis, your brain already knows what's coming next with no need of thinking about it because it has learned it. It is wired to maintain the pattern that you created and that you made an effort into practicing on a regular basis. And this is a little advice that I have here. I can see a lot of people, they create a routine and they try working on it, and just because it doesn't come out naturally in a few days, people tend to give up, and this is a mistake. When you create a routine, especially one that you have never ever done, you need to give yourself time to get used to the routine. If you take myself for an example, I'm still working on my morning and a night routine, and I have been having a morning and a night routine years, but I tried to make several changes several mindset changes, several attitude changes in order to work on this. So when I created my morning and my night routine, what I do is I create the perfect one, right? The one that I think is going to get me to my ultimate goal. And I used to have the mindset of all or nothing. So it's either I do the entire routine or I do none of the practices that form part of that routine. And this is a big mistake because pretending your mind and your body to be used to something that you have never ever practiced, it's just really the least thing that you should do. When you create a routine, take a paper and write down the steps that you want to incorporate into that routine, whether it's your morning routine, your night routine, your routine to get motivated to work, anything that you're working on. And when you do that, try to understand why you want to do those practices. Why do you think that those practices are going to help you to work or achieve your ultimate goal? That is my advice. That is what works for me. And then just go little by little. Instead, if it's a small routine, like I'm just prepping for work, like getting my coffee or getting my tea, putting a little, essential oil or watering the plant that I have in the office. If that's all the routine is, then great. I'm pretty sure that you can do it at once without the need of working on it. However, if you create a very long routine, for instance, your morning routine being waking up super early, making the time for meditation and for journaling before going to work out, and you want to have your supplements and you want to have your detox water and your matcha tea, and then you want to go to work out, and then you want to come back, and then you want to shower, and also you want to have prepped the clothes the night before. When the routine is so long and with so many practices, just choose a few. Start by the ones that are the most important for you to do, and then slowly, when you feel that you are used to those ones, then slowly add the next one. Because when you try to do a routine with so many steps at once every day, it could work, but also you increase the chances of you giving up because you're not used to it, so you're going to feel tired. That's what works for me. That's what works for a lot of people. Again, you do you, try, test different things, and create that routine little by little and work on it on a regular basis until you feel it's the moment where you're fully used to it, and you will see it will come out naturally. Okay, the next thing, and I slightly mentioned this already, the next thing that having a routine provides you with is saving time. For instance, with decision making, when you already have a routine, you know exactly what you have to do and you just have to follow it. And not only does this help us to save time, but also our mental energy could be used elsewhere. The science behind this is, if you don't create a routine, if you don't create your plan, what is going to happen that day generally is that you're going to go decision by decision. And I think this is really great when you don't have anything major to do on your day and you just want to be spontaneous and be like, okay, now I'm going to go to this shop and check this out, and now I feel like doing some groceries, and then I'm going to go back home, and then I'll see what's next. When you have a day like that you can actually afford to be super spontaneous and just go with the flow, that is wonderful, perfect. You don't have to have a routine every single day of your life. Like, I actually leave some days to be like no routines whatsoever and just go with the flow and with what I feel like doing that day. But generally for me, from Monday to Friday, I like my weeks to be planned, and I have my routines that prepare me for every single thing. And in order not to have to be making decisions all of the time. And this is something that happens a lot, mainly in my PhD. Sometimes you have tasks that happen out of nowhere. And I'm pretty sure this is not only in the PhD, but any job. Sometimes you can have some things that happen out of nowhere and they have a super close deadline, and it's a task that is super urgent and that you need to get done as soon as possible. When that happens, and I do not have my routines and my plans, everything tends to just get accumulated and just pile up. And that, to me, gives me a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and to the point where I have a big pile of tasks in front of me and I do not know which one I have to pick. However, when I have my week more or less planned, and this includes the routines in my morning, in my night, when I want to go to the gym and everything, I have a better view of where I can introduce this new sudden task that has a closer deadline and where I can move around the other ones. Each decision that we make during the day depletes our mental energy, and it leaves less energy available for the next task that we need to work on. I don't know if you have ever felt this, but a lot of times you just sit down and you plan your week or you plan your day, and the amount of energy that you had to put into that, it's so big that when you finish, you don't have energy to do the things that you actually have to do. And this can usually be accompanied by procrastination. You don't feel like doing it, but then you feel like, oh, well, I planned it, so it should be right for tomorrow. And then it isn't. You see where I'm going with this. It's just a very bad cycle. So by doing this, you conserve your mental energy and your time that can be used elsewhere. Okay, the next thing that having routines help with is good habits. When there are habits that you want to work on, and this generally, the most common ones are having a healthy diet, wanting to work out, having supplements. These habits generally are not so much fun. And they require a very big effort, right? Going to the gym can be very draining, and also not knowing what to do or what fitness routine to practice. What instructor do I like? Do I need a coach? Can I work out alone? It's a lot of energy. It requires a lot of effort, and the same goes with having a healthy, balanced diet. So when you create a routine and you try to create this process more fun, The good habits gradually become second nature because you're so focused into working on your routine that you kind of forget of the effort that it takes to go to the gym or to find the diet that you want and things like that, because you're actually focusing and you're putting your energy into another thing. And this is why I love routines so much, because the real goal that you have, it's not really your main focus, and you're making the process fun and enjoyable, and you're managing to find a way that gets you moving and gets you to where you want to be. And the reason for this is because when we work on routines, as I mentioned before, routines are helping in the development of good habits by leveraging the brain's natural inclination to patterns and repetition. When we perform a specific behavior repeatedly, our brains begin to recognize the pattern and automate the process in a way that it becomes easier and easier each time that you do that routine. And this is known as the habit loop, which consists of cue, routine, and reward. So the cue triggers the routine, and the routine, if followed by a reward, will gradually become an ingrained habit. So for instance, since we're talking on daily routines, a cue might be a specific time of the day. The reward could be the positive outcome or the positive feeling that you get from carrying out that routine. And over time, as this loop is repeated, the action becomes a habitual part of your daily life, your daily routine, and so on. The next thing that I would like to mention that comes with having routines is reduced stress. And I, without specifically saying, have already mentioned this. Being aware of what you have to do and seeing future situations like what you have to do later in the day or later in the week, and having a clear understanding of events that are upcoming. All of this can really alleviate feelings of stress and anxiety. And this sense of preparedness can bring a sense of calm, because usually the uncertainty comes with stress. Either stress, or you worry, or you feel anxious, and things like that. And when we know what's around the corner, we can better prepare ourselves, whether it is mentally, emotionally. Also, if you want to study something for a meeting, for an interview, for a presentation, whatever it is. And this will help to reduce your levels of stress and anxiety. And this comes with what I have mentioned before. When you have a routine, you don't have to be constantly thinking of the things that you have to do or wasting energy into decision making, which can be mentally draining and leading to stress. The next thing that I would like to mention is better sleep. Establishing a consistent routine can help improve your sleep quality. And the reason for this is because our bodies thrive on regularities and predictable sleep-wake cycles. This will help regulate our internal body clock. This is very important because good quality sleep not only leaves you refreshed and alert for the next day, but it also has a lot of long-term health benefits. And these include better cognitive function, better mood, and a stronger immune system. And the reason why routines help have an improved quality sleep is because routines help regulate our internal body clock or circadian rhythm. And this is a natural process that regulates the sleep-wake cycle and repeats roughly every 24 hours. When we establish a consistent sleep routine, this signals to our body when we should start producing melatonin, the hormone that makes us feel drowsy. Over time, this will help us fall asleep faster and achieve a more restful, high-quality sleep. Regular sleep is also going to help us to reduce sleeping disorders such as insomnia and sleep apnea. Another thing that comes with routines is healthier eating. And I don't mean because you choose to have a healthy, balanced diet, but more in the sense of when you have your meals. When you have a regular meal routine, you're actually going to reduce the cravings that you have and also the amount of snacking. I tend to plan on my calendar when I'm having breakfast, when I'm having lunch, and when I'm having dinner. And by looking at this, this really helps me to reduce, for instance, the amount of times that I skip a meal because of work, or the amount of times that I just want to snack because I suddenly get hungry, especially on big days when I have lots of experiments. When I finish my experiments, I am so tired, I'm so hungry that all that I want to do is just go to the sofa and just snack whatever it is that I find on my way. However, when I have my routine, I make the effort of just looking at my calendar or looking at whatever app that you can use to look at your routine, and you see the time when you're having your lunch or your dinner. And generally speaking, when you're so hungry and you want to snack, the actual time, I don't know if you're going to feel related to this, but this happens to me. When I look at when my next meal is coming, it is actually coming quite soon. So it's really not that big of an effort to say, okay, Finola, breathe here for a second. I know you're starving, but your lunchtime or your dinner time is coming quite soon. Just stay put. So yeah, or if you're incredibly hungry, in the case of being at work and you already have your meal prepared, then instead of snacking and waiting for that meal to arrive, you can have your lunch sooner. At least this is really what works for me. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, there's a science behind it. When you have regular meal routines, these can actually help our body's metabolic processes, ensuring that our bodies are effectively breaking down the nutrients from our meals and using them in the most efficient ways. When we eat at irregular times, our bodies may not be prepared to properly digest the food and absorb the nutrients, leading to an inefficient metabolism and potentially gain weight and also other health issues. When we have regular meal routines, that can also help cue our bodies as to when to feel hungry, preventing overeating and unnecessary snacking. Eating at the same time every day, I know this is not always possible because, life happens, but trying to eat every day at the same time help to condition our body to expect food at certain times, making us less likely to feel hungry between meals and this desire of snacking. And this will lead to a better portion control and more balanced diet. Okay, and the next thing that I want to mention that comes with routines is productivity. I'm pretty sure this is quite obvious. When you have your tasks planned throughout the day, the probability of increasing your productivity is quite high. Now, a small piece of advice here. When you create your routine, make sure that that planning and that routine is realistic to your life. Try not to over plan or make a routine excessively long if you do not have the time to do it. The goal of this is not only to be more efficient and more productive, but also to reduce the amount of stress, anxiety that you can have when working on certain tasks, and also bring you joy, happiness, and make the process more fun. If you overload yourself, if you overplan, if you make a routine extremely long and it does not match your daily work, at the end, you're just going to delay when to do your tasks and not be able to do the task that you want to do in the time that you have planned. So actually, this was an advice from my parents. My parents always told me to plan and create routines as if I needed double or triple the time. That way, I always ensured myself that if something happened, things wouldn't get piled up and I would avoid having to run everywhere or getting stressed because I'm way delayed. So this is a piece of advice in here. The goal of having routines and having your day really well planned is not to overload yourself with tasks, but to put what you want to do in an amount of time that you actually can do it, to reduce stress and anxiety. So by having, as I mentioned earlier, by having a clear outline of what your day looks like will increase your efficiency and your productivity. And the reason for this is very simple. We have already mentioned it in this podcast, is because you're reducing the time that you spend and your energy in decision making. And also you conserve mental energy. What we talked before about the brain being able to recognize a pattern, and the more you practice it, the more it will come out as a natural way. This process is called neuroplasticity. It's the ability of change and adapt as a result of experience. When we repeat a task, the neural pathways involved in performing that task become stronger, making the task easier to perform over time. So yes, I really wanted to mention the health benefits that can come with creating routines. I know the most popular ones are morning and a night routine, and they're really, really important, but there are so many routines that you can plan throughout the day, and they don't have to be huge routines, just routines made for yourself, by yourself, test it and try it out by yourself that you know that work and are going to get you ready for the ultimate goal. So in the morning, my main goal is that I want to feel full of energy and like I can conquer the world. So I have created a set of practices that help me to achieve that feeling. And when I finish my morning routine and I have that feeling, I feel so good. It's that I love my morning routine. Then, as I mentioned before, I have like small routines. For instance, I have a routine to get me going at work. So when I finish my morning routine, the next thing is to get to my work. When I arrive there, it's not really, I don't sit down and be like, woohoo, I'm so full of energy, I love my job, and I'm going to be doing all of these tasks. No, I need to slowly prepare myself into start working. So I give myself like 5 minutes to quickly check emails, prepare my coffee, just little things, look at my planning, just little things that gets me in the mindset of, okay, we're focusing, we're getting our concentration where it should be, and we're getting where we want to be. So yeah, I also have like a period routine, so certain practices that I do whenever I have PMS period. Then I have like a finance routine. So at certain points of the month, I want to see what I have spent. So I have a routine laid out. So I just pull it up and I follow the practices one by one. The night routine, as I mentioned before, is to help me wind down, get relaxed. It's also the time of the day that I have to be with my partner, which I really enjoy, to talk about our feelings, how our days went. I also have a routine for when I'm having bad days and sick days, which is completely different. So a routine for a sick days is like the practices that I want to do in order to feel better and to give my body the rest that it needs and just try to help it heal from whatever it is that I'm sick of. Of course, this comes without saying that I have been to the doctors to see what happened. And then when I'm having a bad day, that is generally when I'm very negative, I'm very grumpy, I'm very vulnerable, everything affects me. I'm just having a bad day. So I have a routine for that. And it's not really routine to make me change. Okay, I'm having a bad day, I'm really negative, I want to flip my fingers and be positive and happy. No, that's not the way it works. It's like, why am I feeling like this? What can I do to feel a little bit better? If I have to keep on being grumpy, then I continue being grumpy. But I try to have some practices to understand what is happening and maybe where is this coming from, to put a solution to it and to let go of this negativity and grumpiness that I have. So yeah, I really believe in the power of routines, not in the sense of doing the same boring thing every day, but in the sense of creating the life that you want, being healthy, reducing stress and anxiety levels, which can be really, really harmful for our bodies. And help you achieve your ultimate goal, because usually routines is just a process of getting you elsewhere. So I really hope that you liked today's episode. I really hope that I managed to get the message out there. I really would love to hear about your experiences, your advices. What do you think of routines? You can leave comments if you're watching from YouTube. A review, of course, is more than welcome. And if not, feel free to join the Healthy Life Dreamer community at Discord. Every single information is in the show notes or in the description in YouTube. So feel free to check it out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. That's it for today's episode of the Health Reflections podcast. If you would like to have more information, you can check out the show notes or go to the podcast section at finolameister.com. I hope this episode was valuable to you and inspired and empowered you into taking action. A reminder that we have a lovely community space called Healthy Life Dreamers, where we share experiences and support each other on this journey. I would love it if you would help me spread the word by leaving a review or sharing the podcast with anyone you think might need it. Thank you so much for being here today. See you in the next one.